Um, we're going to speak. I'm going to speak about measurement and metrics on higher education. So first of all, I'm working for a business school in France called KEDGE, based in Marseille and Bordeaux, in the south of France. And they call me the virus, the sustainable development virus. My job is to be everywhere in the school. So roughly speaking, my job is to try to put sustainable development into the research, into the pedagogy, into the campus as a green campus, and of course the social aspects, etc. I will speak a little bit further. First of all, and I do think it's quite important, if we want to speak about measurement and about metrics, we should ask ourselves, why do we need to measure? And I think that they are, and depending on the institution, they could have different goal for measuring. If I take my example, we start this the Department of Sustainable Development at KEDGE 8 years ago with a team and a budget dedicated to that. And one of the key elements to use metrics was to define the strategy. We have many actions in the school, great people working, students, projects, etc. But we were not able to understand that all of those actions, courses, a research project, or even a student activity can be linked. So from my point of view, it's really sharing a vision. As soon as you have metrics, you can discuss with people who don't have exactly the same point of view, but at least it's a minimum, the basic knowledge to discuss with others. Of course, if you have metrics, you can compare, you can benchmark yourself with your colleagues. Of course, if you don't measure, it's really difficult to plan and to implement and to decide, because even if we try to do our best, a day is just 24 hours. And at the end of the day, you have to make choices. So you need to decide: should I put more energy in creating a new courses on sustainable development, or should I try to launch a project on I don't know, waste or solar panel for the university? I do think that the idea of selling is not selling just selling the school or selling the university, but it can be, if you have indicator, it can really help you to, of course, to sell the idea of what you are doing outside the school. Some students, and more students, are really asking you some fact and figures on what you are trying to do, and also to try to convince inside the school and try to be able to discuss with people who actually are not the more engaged people on sustainable development. It's thanks to my indicator. We published now for 7 years a sustainable development report. I have just one example, but you can download it with indicators. And it's thanks to this, the fact that we published the report, and then we need metrics to put on this report, that I was able really to discuss with my financial director in the school, because he understands and we can target some goals, etc. Sometimes obligation can come from government, sometimes it can come, for instance, in business school, the major trigger are ranking and accreditation. And then, for instance, EQUIS, which is one of the 3 major accrediting bodies for business school, they have one full chapter on ethics and responsibility. So if you have fact and figures, when you have the peer review, it's going to help you to discuss with the accrediting bodies. Of course, to control, or to at least to believe that you control something, I think is quite important, because even if I don't know if we are all really efficient, but at least it's cool if you believe sometimes you are doing well and you achieve something. But I think the most important thing, and if I may, John, on what Ashok said this morning, it's we are living in a world where everything is measuring. So you can like or don't like the fact that we should measure. We are living in a world where everything has a measurement. So I do think that we should go and push to change the way how we measure the system. I'll just give you one example. Tomorrow we're going to discuss about networks, one that we've launched at the UN level called HESI, the Higher Education Sustainable Initiative. We've launched that in Rio. Thanks to this initiative, one of the accrediting bodies like EQUIS for Business School came to us and said, could you help us to change the way how we measure performance for business school? So, and we have a responsibility to do this kind of lobbying for the ranking, for the government, and for accrediting bodies. And I do think that, if I can share my personal experience, the most important thing when you start to ask for metrics, it's you start to discuss with other people in the university. Most of the time, I think it's one of our mistakes. When you are convinced, when you are deeply engaged in sustainable development, we are all staying with nice people. We are all here nice people, and at school. But where are our deans, our chancellor, our financial director? They should be here with us today. So as soon as you start to discuss on figures, you start to share something and to argue sometime with those people. If you want to know what we should measure, just a quick snapshot on the scope of our responsibility. When I say our, it's really higher education, but I think you can transfer that to any kind of education system. First of all, as any organization, we pollute, we discriminate, and sometimes we put the money in bad place, okay? So, but it's, roughly speaking, exactly like any kind of organization. So we should do something on well-being, on personal development, on pollution, etc., etc. Of course, we have, because we are teaching and we are doing research, we have a responsibility on the behavior of our alumni. And I think, again, Rio was a turning point. I do think that before Rio, in many business schools at least, many huge universities, the message from the dean was, or the president was, often, we are not responsible. We are giving tools to adults. And after that, if they use those tools to create subprime, deforestation, or labor child, it's not our responsibility. And I think it's not anymore the case. We know that we have a responsibility. We are guilty for the behavior of our students, but we can't say, look, we are creating Nobel Prize or huge entrepreneur if we don't say that sometimes we produce the people who create crises. And I do think it's our responsibility. As I said, we have also a responsibility to change the system. We don't like everything in our system. We don't like the way how the government choose to give the money to this institution or this project. We have the responsibility to push, to change the system. Of course, in order to do that, we have many triggers, many action. In my school, I have a transportation policy, I have a non-discrimination policy, etc., etc. And if so we try, for instance, to buy fair trade product, to buy organic food, etc., etc. And of course, in the research and program, we have the responsibility. We could put some specific courses. We could launch specific research chair, etc., etc. So if you come to metrics, as it was mentioned before, you can measure impact or you can measure means. So I can measure the number of courses that I put in place, or I can measure the ton of CO2 or the ton of waste that I produce. But I do think that we should now translate a little bit into impact. I won't go too far on that because we have a working session this afternoon. I will explain about the literacy test. but if you have some other session, please go online and type sustainability literacy test. We've launched something 2 years ago, which is a kind of TOEFL of GMAT, you know. It's the minimum knowledge, awareness that any students worldwide should have in terms of sustainable development. It is used now by 400 universities and, roughly speaking, 49,000 students. If we come to metrics, there are many tools worldwide. Some of the metrics can just focus on one specific aspect, like the green matrix, for instance, which is really focused on the green campus. You have some other will gonna take the green campus plus the strategy. Some will focus on the teaching part, on research and teaching. And just after Rio, we've launched a platform on sustainable performance in higher education, which is a platform actually for all the people or all the organizations who have created tools, but not on this one specific item, but on the whole institution approach. Research, pedagogy, the green campus, the social aspects, local community engagement, etc., etc. So this is the website, and just so we have tools from all over the world, from US, France, South Africa, and again, when I say we have, it's just a platform to share what our experience and what we try to do is. If I give you one example about my school, I use the Green Plan, which is the French tool, for now 7 years, and it's a tool that we managed to put on the government plan. So in 2016, all the universities in France should use this tool. It doesn't mean that they should be good, but at least they should use the tool. And just to give you an example, for the moment, our score, it's a self-assessment score, it's 3.8 out of 5, okay, at KEDGE. The average score in France is lower than the compliance. For instance, yesterday we spoke about disabled people. Most of the universities are not organized to invite disabled people in their school. And we plan the target, when I say is metrics can help you to build your strategy. We have a goal in 2020 to reach 4.5 out of 5 in my university. Thank you very much for your attention.